In December 1872, the De Gratia was sailing in the Atlantic Ocean and spotted what appeared to be an erratically moving and directionless ship. They got closer to investigate and eventually boarded the ship, only to find absolutely no one. The vessel seemed to be in fine working order, so the absence of the captain or any of the crewmen was puzzling. This ship was called the Mary Celeste and would go down in infamy as the ghost ship. Formerly named the Amazon, this ship was riddled with misfortune from the start, which leads many to believe it was cursed. Its first captain became suddenly ill and died before the first voyage had even been completed. It accidentally crashed into another ship and sunk it, and it was once left abandoned when its crew thought it was sinking, but later recovered and repaired. The ship eventually fell into the hands of Captain Benjamin Spooner Briggs, and in late 1872, it was to travel to Genoa, Italy. On November 7th, the Mary Celeste set sail with over 1,700 barrels of industrial alcohol. Captain Briggs embarked with his 7 crew members, as well as his wife and their 2-year-old daughter. Briggs had decades of experience, but this was his first time transporting the highly flammable and dangerous cargo. Nearly a month later, on December 5th, 1872, the De Gratia spotted the Mary Celeste about 400 miles off of the Portuguese islands of the Azores. Captain Morehouse of the De Gratia ordered his crew to approach and board the ship, only to realize that there was no one to be found. Upon further investigation, Morehouse and his crew couldn't find any signs of threats or any signs of emergency, which might cause 10 people to make an escape. Everything seemed to be in good order. The vessel wasn't damaged or sinking. There was a 6-month supply of food and water. All of the crew's belongings were still aboard, and most of the cargo was intact and secure. The last logged entry made by Briggs stated that on November 27th at 5 a.m., the weather had finally calmed, as the previous night the ship encountered rough seas. There seemed to be no sense of worry or concern from the captain in the last entry. The final log also indicates that at the time that Morehouse found the Mary Celeste, the crew had already been missing for around a week. There were a few things awry though. One of the 2 water pumps was not working, and the only lifeboat was gone. There was also a rope that had been tethered to the back of the ship, leading to speculation that the lifeboat could have been attached to it at some point. In addition, 9 of the 1,700 barrels of alcohol were empty, but these barrels were made of red oak, which is more porous, meaning that the alcohol could have just seeped out. Morehouse brought the ship to Gibraltar, where it was investigated and found to have not been involved in foul play. It was still seaworthy, and there was no indication of an emergency, which should have led a captain to order his crew to abandon ship. Morehouse was awarded 1/6 of the insurance that was covering the Mary Celeste. Throughout the years, many people have had theories as to what actually happened to the crew of the Mary Celeste. Some have far-fetched speculations that it was a giant sea monster that consumed the poor souls, but this is easily debunked because the ship was undamaged. Others think that maybe it was a pirate attack, but that wouldn't make sense because all of the crew's valuables, food, water, and the cargo were accounted for. If pirates had struck, surely they would have looted the entire vessel. Some theorize that the crew consumed the alcohol on board, became drunk, and this somehow led to their demise. It's important to remember that the cargo was industrial alcohol, and not drinking alcohol. Briggs also ran a tight ship and didn't allow drinking on board to begin with. It's very improbable that all 9 adults became drunk and decided to abandon ship. However, there are some believable theories. Some think that Briggs just became very panicked and ordered his crew and family off. 5 days prior to the last entry, it had been logged that Briggs expected to see land, but hadn't. Research conducted determined that he was likely 120 miles off of where he was thought to be, probably due to faulty equipment. Perhaps the water pump had broken, the ship's hull began filling with water, and Briggs couldn't decide if the ship was taking on too much water to stay adrift. This, along with being off course and not seeing land, he began to panic, and he ordered his crew and family to board the lifeboat. Another plausible theory is that there were fumes from the cargo that were becoming too strong, and Briggs was growing anxious either for the crew's health or of an imminent explosion. Again, this was the captain's first time hauling this type of dangerous cargo, so it's not unlikely that he would have been nervous and uneasy. Perhaps he thought it was a good chance to air out the vessel since the weather had finally calmed. Though there's contradicting information as to if the doors, hatches, and windows were found closed or opened. Either way, if he was concerned due to the contents of the cargo, he may have ordered everyone into the lifeboat and tethered it to the back of the ship as to not float too far. Maybe the rope wasn't as durable as he assumed, or perhaps rough weather or choppy seas broke it, causing the lifeboat to drift off, unable to reach the ship again. Opinions and theories will continue for years to come, comparing evidence and trying to rationalize this long-lived mystery. There will always be unanswered questions, and it's unlikely that we will ever truly know what happened to the 10 members of the Mary Celeste on that cold November day.